Wait, do I get to think about this stuff first?
You don't know. You can just it's you know all the answers. So it's just anyway. Can you please tell us your name?
All right, my name's Daniel
And
Carroll.
Carroll. And what do you do, Daniel Carroll?
I am a commercial farmer and farm coach for Go Farm Hawaii North Shore site.
North Shore site. And can you tell us what kind of things you grow?
I currently grow commercial avocados. I manage Barrel's organic avocados in Waialua, and I also just began managing a lime and a separate lily koi orchard.
Cool. How long have you been in farming?
I went to the College of Agriculture at the University of Vermont. So I've been studying agriculture. I haven't been farming as a career for maybe 10 years.
Wow. And what is your connection to Hawaii? How did you get here and why do you stay?
That's a good question. I have family that lives here, and so when I was really young, I was drawn directly to agriculture and Hawaii. My dad's sister has lived here my whole life, and so the few times I got to visit her when I was younger, she kind of knew the insider stuff and the cool hikes, and really kind of showed me some of the really amazing parts of Hawaii. Not so much, I never went to Waikiki until I lived here. And yeah, Senator Fong's garden, she lived next to Senator Fong in Kaneohe, and I used to go explore his garden, and I was like, this is where I want to grow tropical fruit.
That's great.
I was probably like 11.
Right, and it just stuck with you. You're like, I like this outdoor life.
Yeah.
And what would you say is, I guess as a farmer, what is your mission as a farmer? Like, why do you farm?
I think, like many other people in my position that work really hard and try to make ends meet, growing food is it's more than just money, obviously. So people always say that you're passionate about it, but I think people are really disconnected from our food system, and so it's very natural for both you wanting to do something in your life that you're proud of, and then also trying to connect to something that we all are inherently a part of, which is food. We all need it, especially in Hawaii. We're so isolated that this is an amazing place to learn about growing food. You can do it all year round. We have pests and disease that everywhere else has, but worse. So it's an amazing place to learn how to learn about sustainable farming, and it's one of the most important places to have it in function.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I feel like
trying to promote this movement, and we're really at the very beginning of trying to promote sustainable agriculture. It's going to take many generations to get this going, and I feel pretty proud that I'm one of the first generations to really try to make it a career and really make it happen.
And we're at like this tipping point too,
Hopefully.
One, and kind of like how we were talking about before, like, this sort of sustainable organic type of farming was like really radical 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And now it's very relevant. It's like it's what people are looking at, or definitely as the generations start moving forward, that knowledge, people are really looking for more of that knowledge. So it's this need for people who have some is really valuable right now. Where do you see the future of agriculture in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a tricky one.
Or trends that you see in food or food systems, where like you see that things are moving toward, also just in your community.
Right. I personally think that in the next 10 years there's going to be a consumer-driven food revolution, where people are everyone has people in their family that are becoming sick from the food that we eat, and it's only 10 years is right about that time where the younger generations are going to start voting, and things are going to start changing a lot quicker. The people that are really against sustainable ag, or I don't know how you could be against it, but
or maybe just not bought into it yet, because I don't know how you could be against it, but being a part of it,
right.
I feel like that's kind of where we're at now. Like, I think helping people know that no, you can be a part of it,
right,
or you are already a part of it.
We talk a lot about CSAs as part of our curriculum, right? Community supported or community shared agriculture. And besides plants, which since the day I was born, I've always been obsessed with plants. I've grown tomato plants since when I was 5 years old or whatever.
Plant obsessions. I should add that
for sure.
I should add that to the interview sheet. Like, so what are your plant or vegetable obsessions?
My first trip away from home, away from my family, the first letter I wrote to my mom, in the letter was asking her to send me pictures of my tomato plant.
So hardcore ever since, huh?
Hardcore, always loved plants, but it wasn't until I went to the University of Vermont and really realized the connection between agriculture and community where I was sold. Like, I wanted to grow food, I thought farming was cool, I loved plants. I wasn't really into the food, like more just plants and nature and science. I want to study environmental science or something, study. I really like school, I like learning, and I realized farming was a way for me to be able to learn my whole life and directly be able to connect our community. So I grew up in a small town, in the same town my parents grew up in, and so tight community. I knew everyone knew my parents, and that was really important to me. And so I moved around when I was, became an adult all around, and that was one of the things that really kept me here, is that tight-knit community, especially here on the North Shore. Everyone seems to know each other and what's going on, and agriculture is the most important aspect of community, sustainable community development. If we don't have agriculture within our community, then it's hard for communities to stay together, and they're really easily dispersed. And so it's not just promoting agriculture, it really solves a lot of the problems that we're having, like, in all aspects of humans, like development, everything. Health.
That's great. I agree with you. I feel like
part of this interview is sharing this with consumers as well as farmers, and I pretty much deal most of my life with producers. Like, all of my day-to-day is with people that are growing food to sell it, and so obviously we've taken a pretty big stake in this movement. We really are trying to support this small-scale agriculture movement by devoting our entire lives to it. But it's almost as important, or equally as important, for the consumers to realize it's their responsibility too.
Yes.
So there's only going to be 1 out of every 10 people that want to be outside in the hot sun, like sweating since dawn. Like, it's 1 o'clock and I'm ready. Like, I've had a full day already. And I love it, and I wake up and I'll do it tomorrow, but it's not everyone that wants to do that. But it's like, everyone eats, and so when you buy food, if you're not buying local, if you're not buying, like, growing a certain way that you believe in, like, that's your vote. And so it's really up to the consumer if this movement is going to change. There's people that want to farm and want to do it, but we can't survive unless we have the support from the consumers and the community.
Definitely. How did you get with Go Farm?
Well, let's see. I think I learned about the Go Farm program while working at Kahuku Farms. I was managing the organic part of their 125-acre farm, and it was the first year Go Farm was in existence. I think Dan Rudoy was the coach for Leeward. Rob Barreca was cohort 1, and he was in that class, or maybe cohort 2, 1 or 2.
It's like, I swear you told me he was cohort 2.
It might have been
no one remembers what cohort they're in. Okay.
Way back there, though. He was one of the original ones. I remember I had to set up a work day at Kahuku Farms for these Go Farmers, and I was like, what kind of work day? What age group? And they were like, all ages. And I'm like, okay, well, what's their background? And they're like, all backgrounds. I'm like, all right, well, what kind of project are you looking to do? And they're like, they want to become commercial farmers. And I was like, what? This is an awesome group. Can we get groups like this more often? Like, I'm used to, like, 3rd graders that, like, want to see something but don't, I'm trying to run this commercial farm. So I was super excited. I was blown away with you know, like a group of like all different backgrounds, men, women, young, old, like every background you could see, and they all had the same goal of farming. And like you could tell these were not like tourists that wanted to check out a Hawaii farm for the day. They were people that live here that want to start farms, and they work hard and they're willing to sweat and do like real commercial farming stuff. And so that was my first. I didn't know Rob at the time. We're very close friends, but
Yeah.
that was our first meeting. I remember being like, "Yo, what's up, dude?" And just being really tired and being like, "Wow, these guys have so much energy and like
So
they're
hungry.
so stoked. Like I need that stoke. I want to feed on that. Like, because I, you know, working by myself or mostly on my own for a while, it, you know, that stoke has got to stay going, or
Mhm.
you're not going to be able to survive. Like, it's not the money that keeps you going. So I think I met Rob then, and then maybe 4 or 5 years later, Rob was like, "Hey, like, would you ever want to?" Me and Rob became friends. He started an organic farm in Haleiwa just a couple years later after he graduated from Go Farm, and we actually met up because we wanted to split some soil amendments. And we were just like, "You have a little organic farm, I'm running a little organic farm. Let's split this bone meal," which at the time you had to get 2,000 pounds minimum order. And now they can do little because there's a lot more small farms than there was just a few years ago. But that's how we met, just kind of splitting amendments, and we still do that kind of stuff, split chicken feed and that kind of thing, and we're really good friends now. But him and his girlfriend Larnie came to me one day and they're like, "Dan, would you be interested in like teaching?" And I was like, "I don't know, like I've never taught before. I just like doing this." And they were like, "Well, you do field trips and stuff at Kahuku. It's kind of the same." And I'm like, "All right, well, maybe." And that's when I realized that they were trying to get this site going up here on the North Shore. I live like a quarter mile away. And so it was a perfect opportunity. So he shared that with me, and it just happened to work out timing-wise and everything. And Kahuku Farms, who I worked for many years, was excited for me, which was allowed me to leave. It wasn't like I felt super obligated, and it was a good transition. So
I feel like Go Farm they have a way with timing and spacing.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely, and they were lucky they got you. We
I'm
were
lucky
we
too.
we are lucky that we have you. Okay, biggest fear in farming?
Biggest fear is just about not being able to do it. It's always just trying to survive, and if you do something wrong, it's just the risk of not being able to pay to try again. So I don't mind making mistakes. I just want to be able to keep making mistakes. And so as long as my mistakes aren't so costly that I can't continue, which is why Go Farm is amazing, because it allows you to, and I learned more about commercial farming just by being in the field and managing a commercial farm, which both is timely, it takes many years, and also it's very expensive. Like when you're doing a commercial planting of something and you don't know what you're doing and you mess it up, that costs a lot of money. So it's a lot of stress to learn that way too. So you end up doing a lot of extra research before you try something. So I learned about doing research before trying, and then obviously through observations we all learn. But yeah, just not being able to continue farming is the biggest fear for me in farming.
What would you say is the greatest opportunity?
It's like I said before, I think farming is really the answer to some of our biggest problems in our society, and connecting people with food and connecting communities will solve a lot of these issues of hate around the world, really.
Sorry to interrupt.
What's up, Carrie?
Not really. How's it going?
Good.
Come to
How are
the
you?
AC, my friend.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Pomai was like, "Do you mind doing an interview?" And I was like, "All right." And then she was like, "Should we go to the AC?"
How are you?
Yes, we
Yes.
should.
Yes.
It's like,
Immediately.
And we're back. Last question for farmer and farm coach Daniel Carroll. If you could share some advice or a final thought or a takeaway for people who are looking to become farmers or start farm businesses, what would that be?
Well, you have to want to be a farmer. But one of the best advice that someone gave me is that do something that you love and you're going to be happy in life. So when I talk to older people that seem happy and I ask them what is the secret to living a fulfilling life, and they all say the same thing. They're always like, do something that you love. So if farming and being in nature and working with nature is something that you love, then farming is the best thing you can do. Once you kind of have an idea more specifically of what you want to do as a farmer, I would also recommend working for an established farm that's similar to what you want to do. So if you want to be an organic farmer, work for an organic farm. If you want to have a 100-acre farm, work for a 100-acre farm. If you want to have a 2-acre farm-to-table restaurant, work for something that's along those lines. And you'll learn a lot that way too.
That was good advice. Thank you, Dan.
All right, awesome. Come on.